Okay, well, it looks like I'm live. So my name is JJ Hardy, and I own Victory Leadership Coaching. But today we are doing a regularly scheduled noon Central Time live stream. Um, so thank you for being part of my communities. Today we're going to talk about trust as leaders. So first of all, trust is something that is needed if you're going to be in a leadership position because you want your people to know that they can rely on you. I mean, the opposite of trust is that they don't rely on you, or they're not going to go to you when they have a question or an issue, or if they need help with something, or whatever the case may be. And I see somebody's watching, so feel free to comment here and let me know who you are, where you're at, and if you have any questions or comments along the way, please do that as well. But you know, the opposite of that, right? There are a lot of things that cause a lack of trust in the workplace, right? So the two big ones, I wrote down a few of them here, but the two big ones are unethical behavior and a lack of communication. There are a few more. I'll go into those if I have time. This is going to be about 15-20 minutes. Oh, you can see my dog back there. So, lack of communication. Oftentimes, people tend to think that it's okay to just lead from the office. They get so laser focused on the work that needs to be done that A, they only talk to the employees when there's an issue, or B, they don't talk to the employees hardly at all. And if you only talk to the employees when, let's say you have an issue or not at all, I mean, if you only talk to them if you have an issue, then they're going to get nervous whenever you come around. Michael said, lack of communication is huge. If people don't communicate, you won't understand. You don't know where you stand. That is so true on so many levels. But more than you don't know where you stand, I will just go ahead and preface this entire conversation with saying that the most common thing that happens, and it happened when I was an entry level employee as well, is I would go into a job. And Michael, I know you've heard me say this before. It's like beating a dead horse, but you go into a job and you've had a bad manager here and here and here and here. And a bad manager is somebody that, I mean, they might be a good person, but they don't communicate. They talk about employees in front of other employees. They don't really care about the person. They care about the work. Even if they are a decent person, they're so laser focused on getting the work done. That's all they care about. Right. But with that being said, trust is important. And, if you set the stage when somebody first comes over to you as an employee and you let them know that my first job, I had 5 managers, holy cow. Well, that's just inconsistency for that place of business. 5 managers in 2 years. And that says something because that means the higher ups are probably absolutely horrible. But so when you don't communicate with people, when you don't set and manage expectations, when you don't talk to them about what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, and all of those other things, and you're just that guy that wants to lead from the office, you're going to struggle with your employees because they're not going to know when to talk to you and when to not. Honestly speaking, and I have a 17-year-old daughter, and so I know this firsthand from the new generation. And, it's been a long time since I was an entry level employee, but I still remember a lot of those things, right? But she comes to me and she says, I have this problem at work, Dad. And I'm like, well, have you talked to your manager about it? Well, why would I talk to him? I don't really talk to him at all. He doesn't even talk to me. And that sparked a lot of red flags. And then I said, well, he won't know how to help you unless you go and talk to him. Well, I really haven't had any positive interactions with him, Dad. And, so I'm not saying that to use only my own personal example as an example, but if that's with a 17-year-old, if she doesn't know what to do, then chances are even seasoned people aren't really going to know what to do. They might just be a more bold person and just have that undying need to get an answer. But will they, I mean, other if they don't, will they go to that manager and have a conversation? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, you have to be bold to just go up and say what you got to say, regardless of what the other person thinks, just because you need an answer. A lot of people today are just not that bold. So you can't expect that as a manager. You got to set those expectations and let them know that they can. Michael says the value of the people who work for you and with you is grossly underrated. That's so true. I'll put that comment up there. So let me move on to unethical behavior. There are many different categories of unethical behavior at work, but a couple of them I'm going to touch on is one, it unprofessional, and two, I'm going to talk about, lying and, the typical ethics stuff. So a lack of professionalism in the workplace, and it's unethical because for many reasons, but let me give you an example here. I worked at a place one time and I was an operations manager, so I was kind of higher up there, right? This was after retiring from the military. This was not in the military. And I got there, and at our first morning meeting where we had all of the employees there to do a safety brief and talk about what jobs we were going to go do that day, the very first thing that happened is the business owner started talking about in front of everybody else what everybody else was doing good, bad, right, and wrong in front of everybody. And I mean, these are things that, in my personal opinion, and it's just the right thing to do because you praise in public, but you discipline and you give constructive criticism in private unless it warrants an on the spot correction. That person, Michael, that business owner, did not know how to be professional. He was just verbal diarrhea and in that morning meeting where we were meeting with all of our employees, and it was on so many levels the wrong answer. So why was that wrong? Because it is not the entire team's business to know what was going on with everybody else. And when somebody is doing something wrong, they don't want everybody else to know it. You're right. Don't air your dirty laundry in public. You're right. Michael just said that too. So there's a reason why you don't do that. You don't do that because people deserve to have a good relationship with everybody on the team. If you're airing out their dirty laundry and everybody knows that the boss is a little bit disappointed in what was going on, then everybody is going to form a negative opinion. But if you have those conversations in private, it's different. You just earned that person's trust and respect because you didn't say it in front of everybody, even though you could have. You took the time and the extra time to let them know that there was a problem away from everybody. And then then that person probably feels more comfortable to create dialogue. Yeah, it makes the employee feel like crap. If anybody else who's in here, please tell me who you are and where are you tuning in from so that we can get you into the conversation here. So that's unprofessional behavior, but it's still unethical. And on the other side of that, there's truly dishonest behavior. And that dishonest behavior is when you lie to your employees to kind of placate them to get them off of your back. That happens a lot. When you tell somebody you're going to do something and then you don't follow through, that makes people feel like crap. Do you think people are going to trust you if you're not following through with what you say? Or if you tell them something just to placate them, even though you didn't mean it? Because if you didn't mean it, you're not going to remember it. And so how are you going to keep your story straight anyway? That's just a silly thing to do. That's what children do. That's not what adults do. So I mean that right there will just destroy the trust in the workplace. Now, I'll talk about a couple of other things real quick. Talked about broken promises. So how about, and I kind of touched on this already, lack of empathy or support. So when you're in a leadership position, it is true. You don't get too deep in the weeds. You got to take a step back. But there's a balance there, right? No, my chair's falling down here. There's a balance there. And that balance means that, you got to be close enough to be able to see the mistakes and get to know your people and all of that stuff. But you got to be far enough away where you're not getting too much into people's business, because micromanaging is another problem. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So empathy and support, people need both of those things. When you're so far back that you lose touch with the execution level tasks, and you never show your employees that you're willing to do those things, and you never jump in there and get your hands dirty and show them that you're not above that ground level work, then that builds trust in a different way. It lets them know that not only do you divvy out these tasks, you're taking ownership and responsibility for these things, and you're making sure you still know how to do these things. So it builds trust, it builds credibility, it builds teamwork. It definitely, I'm going to go back to trust again, because it builds trust with you. And when you're empathetic to their complaints, and they know, and you try to have a conversation with them, and they know you're that person that's going to be, you're going to be eventually down in the weeds with them every once in a while to help them when they actually need it, then they'll make sure they tell you about these complaints, because they want to hear your feedback. And they want to hear your feedback because they know you're an authority in that thing. If you're this is good. If you're too far, you become clueless. If you're too close, you run the risk of being emotionally involved. And you know what, Michael, I will say that to a certain extent, and I'm sure you agree with this, there needs to be a little bit of emotional involved. You need to show your employees that you're vulnerable, that you make mistakes, but you also have to show them that you care about them and not just the work. But this is good. You just like I said in the beginning, you don't want to be so far back that you don't know what's going on, but you need to be close enough for this exact reason. You need to make sure that you understand what's going on and you're not clueless. Best viewers on Cut LY. Well, thank you for sharing that link. I really appreciate it. Okay. So now I'm going to go to the next topic, which I already alluded to a little bit, and that is micromanaging. Beard OPCG 96. Thank you for sharing that link. I just didn't acknowledge who you were. Micromanaging. People do not want to be micromanaged. If you are going to be a leader who delegates a task down to their subordinates, good on you. They deserve that. You deserve that. You can't do the whole work. You're not Superman, Superwoman. But that also provides learning opportunities to them. However, if you delegate that task to your down trace employees, and then you're in the weeds and you're telling them what they're doing wrong constantly, and you're getting in their business and you're looking over their shoulder and you're doing all of those things. No, you don't want to take sides. I agree with that. Um, then, people can't focus on the work when you're always staring over their shoulder. So don't micromanage. You want to blatantly tell an employee that you don't trust them at all, whether that's true or not. Start micromanaging. Makes them feel like crap. Makes them feel like crap. And it makes them feel like that you don't care about their thought process at all. You just have to have it done your way. And when it's a your way or the highway situation, it doesn't work. It never works out, ever, actually. And the last thing I want to touch on is lack of transparency. So there's definitely a dichotomy that has to be balanced here as well. So transparency, telling your employees everything they need to know, but making sure you don't give them too much, because if you build an environment of trust and ownership in the workplace, if you give employees enough information for them to go and take action on something, they will. And when you do that, then it takes away from the workplace because you have too many people getting involved. You kind of have to give people the information that they need to do the job, and you can tell the whole group everything at one time if you want to, because you can make sure that certain people are doing certain things, and you make sure you're very clear about that when you're instructing the group. But if you're having one-on-one conversations with people, and actually, one of my clients had an issue with this. If you're having one-on-one conversations with people and you're giving them so much information that they can take action on it, and then they do, and then you have Johnny, Joe, Sue all taking action on the same thing. Maybe they're all dealing with the same client. If you work with clients externally to your organization, oh wow, that just makes it look like a Charlie Foxtrot. And if you don't know what that is, gosh, I don't curse too much on these things, but it's a clusterfuck. It makes things look really, really unorganized. And when things look unorganized, it takes away from that manager's credibility. And at the end of the day, it takes away, especially if you work externally to the organization, it takes away from that business's credibility, all because one section has multiple people doing the same thing. So that's the dichotomy, right? You give people enough information. And I'm not saying that you hold things back because you're trying to protect your position or something like that. That's the wrong thing to do. Uh, but you give enough information for them to accomplish the task. And if they ask questions, give them more, right? But don't give so much information about everything to everybody that that it's so unclear who's supposed to be doing what, because you're not really setting that delineating line to separate those tasks from different people, that they can go out and take action and make things look horrible. I really don't have anything else. I mean, trust as leaders is a very big topic. I can go on and on and on. I have a couple people listening in here. If you have a question about something, right now is the time to ask it. I'd be happy to answer a question for you. Just let me know. I'll give it about 10 seconds here. If I see a question, I will answer it. All right. Well, since there's no questions, I will end my live stream, right? But if you see this on whatever platform you're watching and you like my content, make sure that you do click the like button, or you can say insightful or whatever the case may be. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you're on YouTube. By the way, this video, the only place it's going to stay is in my Facebook group and on YouTube. Those are the only places you're going to be able to watch it, because I'm going to delete them off the other channels. So if you like that stuff, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can see when I put these things up there and still have access to it. But make sure you comment below so we can keep the conversation going. I really appreciate everybody who has shown up to this live stream. And if you want to hear more of this stuff, or whatever the case may be, make sure you tell me in the comments too, or you can tell me privately as well, what topics you'd like me to cover, specifically related to personal development and leadership development. That's what I focus on in my business. But I really appreciate everybody. Come back again tonight. I'm going to be streaming live with DB the therapist. We're going to be doing Warrior Leadership at 6 p.m. Central Time, and that is 4 o'clock on the West Coast and 7 o'clock on the East Coast. So whatever platform you're watching this on, that will be happening tonight as well. Thank you, everybody. Bless you all. I love it when you guys tune into my channel, and I hope I'm providing value to you. Have a good day.